suffering be dispelled. Let all pain and suffering be dispelled. Beautiful to be here with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome if you've never been before. Welcome if you've been before. Satsang, sitting together in authenticity, us coming together as pure spirit, which we're able to do really easily without the bodies in the way. So here we are all the way around the world. A multitude of us, like-minded people, all of us with something in common, all of us with an interest in connecting to the deeper source that we come from and connecting with each other and wanting, I'm sure I'm projecting somewhat, but wanting the world to be more beautiful for everybody, because we know instinctively that if it's beautiful for everybody, it's beautiful for us. And driven by that urge, and have been since we were children or born, and somehow managed to come through all the the hail of barbs and arrows along the way unscathed enough to be here together today. We have that in common. We could call it love, we could call it the beauty of the soul, whatever we call it, we know what it is, and that's I could call it maybe the currency around which we trade here today, that love. To say that any one element will give you the key to everything you need in every respect is silly, really, because that's why they have 5 elements. And you need the earth for the practicality. I'm talking about mind states and the way you approach the world. You need the what comes after earth, the metal, I call it space, to be connected to the cosmos, whence springs all the information we all need to be original and contribute originally to the mix as best we each can. You have the water, which is the next one along. Like there's space, and then suddenly there was the water, and water is the ground of life. Well, not the ground of life. Water is the basis of all life. I'll come back to water in a minute. And then after water, you have nature. The Chinese originally called it wood, meaning trees, and that's growth. We have to grow. Things have to grow. They have to move. They have to progress. They have to interact with each other, and so on. And then after, from nature, you have fire. From wood, you have fire, and fire is the passion and the caring and the sense of self on an adventure, the memory of everything that's been in life till now, and therefore the ability to have perspective on where you come from, where you might be going. All these elements come into play, and then of course we have to be able to accommodate the inevitable cycling effect of yin and yang, yin representing the contractive tendency and yang the expansive tendency. Things to get difficult then get easy, they get difficult, they get easy. And it's not just the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of plenty, it's the 7 minutes of high, or the 7 minutes of freak out, followed by the 7 minutes of confidence, and so on and so forth. It's operating on many, 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 many levels. And then there's how you hold yourself inside your body while experiencing all this, because that fundamentally alters your experience. I call that psychoenergetics, and that's what we do when we're going to be doing the meditation shortly. You know, we position ourselves inside our skin differently, and that alters the whole experience of what's going on, and enables us to change the description of the world around us, and the description of how we're doing in our relationship with the world around us, or what we're perceiving as the world around us. And when we change the description, we naturally therefore change our experience of it. And then when we change our experience of it, it certainly appears that this external world changes its behavior magically to correspond with that. That's the magical element. That's the bit that makes these satsangs magic. Now, I wouldn't presume, I mean, I err on the side of non-presumptuousness with all these things, but I have noticed, and it was really brought to my attention by people who attend the satsangs, that the world's vibe does seem to change in accordance with what we're doing, and I've noticed it more. I mean, look, that's subjective on my part, the world's vibe. We all have our own. Exactly, it's that. It's my description of the world. I see it calming a little bit somehow. Somehow, the energy seems calmer somehow, more rolling, more flowing, in fact. And it does seem to have an effect, what we're doing at large, but that potentially grandiose thinking aside, I know from the feedback that people are having amazing results from doing these satsangs. So on that magical level, their worlds are actually changing in accordance with their description of the world's changing, and their description of their experience of the world changing. Anyway, coming back to water, where it all begins. Life begins with water. Let me read you something. I'm not going to say who sent it in because I haven't had their permission, but somebody's in an email exchange in America was describing how she feels today, and a bit wobbly, but finding it easier and easier to find the glow within and realize that coming into even a moment of joy can alter the course. Kind of riding the edge in a lot of ways and putting trust to the test. Maybe it's spring coming, who knows, but just feeling like it's all good. Worry is such a waste of time. This is somebody who comes to the satsangs quite regularly and was talking sort of in context of that. And I wanted to read it out because it describes my own state at the moment just so adroitly. And the full moon today, I can't remember which sign it's in, but apparently I think someone said it's a water sign. I haven't really felt this one for the last 2 days or so, this a sense of intensification occurring. The way it's playing out for me has been a much higher frequency of the challenge occurring, of coming out of my flow, because I feel obliged somehow to worry. It's like I'm not worrying, I'm in the flow, everything is fine, I'm rolling with it, and there's this voice that started somewhere way over and on the right hand side somewhere, that probably my internalized father's voice, who knows, going, do you really think it's okay to live like you're living, like gliding along like this, without worrying? Do you really think that's responsible? You really should be worrying, you know. And that voice, so I heard it, I noticed it, it was very quiet, and I went, thank you very much, thank you very much. That means that there's maybe something I need to look out for. So I kind of made a list of what I needed to look out for, literally a list, and thought, okay, well, I've logged that, don't need to worry anymore, so thank you, and carried on being in my back and rolling with it, flying with it, and having all sorts of insights, and life rolling along externally really quickly. Got a lot of aeroplane flights this week as well, and I'm thinking, fine, everything's really cool. And I noticed that voice starts coming up more often in the last couple of days, and it got to a point where it got me. Like, not a lot, just a little bit, but it got me. I succumbed to the mood this afternoon of, how would you describe it, dread, terror, for a moment or two there, where you just think, oh man, I have really blown it, haven't I? Or, you know, oh, am I going to like being a homeless person on the street? You know, those ones where you go into that for a moment, not long, but there it was, and it was fascinating. What I've noticed with these what would you call them, attacks, is that they take you out of flow. They're the ones that take you out of flow. That insistence that you should be worrying, that there should be anxiety, or you're not being a responsible, sane person. Obviously, we know it's the contrary to that, really. But that's what takes you out of the flow. It jars you, and you can't flow when you're jarred. And I thought of it a couple of days ago. I had an instance, because I think about these things. I don't write notes, but I think about them. Bits, it's in my mind as I'm going through the week, because it really fascinates me, this process of the satsang. And what I noticed is it's really, really fascinating, because the water element, being the basis of all life, we found water on Mars, right? Wow, exciting, means there must be life there. So it's crucial. Corresponds in the human body to the kidneys, and when the kidneys are relaxed, you are able to flow. It's really that simple. They describe it as your will is clear and strong. So you have an intention to for life to yield the very, very best for you. We don't have to be specific. The life will yield the very, very best for you in every possible way. However that might look, or whatever, or feel, it will do that. Let's call that the intention. And then you, with a relaxed kidney area, i.e. the middle lower back, either side of the spine, where that area is relaxed and you're sitting into it when you're back in there, you're able to just ride this current. You can flow. You do. You flow. You don't question yourself. You don't jar yourself. You just roll with the sense of momentum that seems to arise spontaneously within. And things work out. Not just work out, but they work out rather beautifully. They resolve in the most unexpected and elegant ways that would not have been possible were you to contrive them to do so. You might get a more efficient result or more predictable result more of the time by contriving things. And of course, that's what the majority of people are doing, with all the computer analysis of every single possible flow of activity that could make money or whatever. It's all been analysed and is all being analysed and catalogued and measured and so on and so forth. And of course, that will work. It will work. It probably works maybe more efficiently than this way. I have no idea. The experiment isn't over yet. But it won't be elegant. It won't have the magic. It will be like X Factor, that kind of, it's brash. It looks cool, it's slick, it all works, everything's fine, but it doesn't have soul. And that's the key. Things like that, when you contrive it, the result doesn't have soul. And so it doesn't fill the soul, it doesn't fulfill you, and you're left chasing it still. Whereas when you're willing to roll with the flow, it has soul. It has soul. And what occurs as a result, these beautiful moments of serendipity, quite often at the point beyond which, if it went any further without that moment of serendipity occurring, you'd fall over. But it always just happens in the nick of time, and it's something beautiful. It will always be something amazing and wonderful. And it only seems to happen when you are flowing, when you're in the flow. And even when that's happening, which it is all the time, the other part of the mind that I was describing before, somehow or other, feels obliged to step in with a responsible adult devil's advocate voice saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Have you checked? Blah, blah, blah." And so on. We've all got our own versions of it. Now, every time that happens, the kidney energy or the kidney area gets contracted. It's subtle, and not obvious to the naked eye, but that area of your back, quite deep inside, contracts. Now, it won't be a gross contraction. It probably be just a very mild one, but it only needs a very mild contraction to trigger the adrenal glands to release cortisol, which is the stress hormone, into the system. And cortisol then makes you feel edgy, and it's energy depletive, and it destroys your joy and jars the flow, it jars the motion, In other words, it snags you, and therefore we could assume delays the process and so on of you becoming successful in life, giving you everything it can. And the chemical is addictive, and albeit that you don't have to go out and score it, it's produced inside of you. It is addictive, and that's why people get addicted to stress. And it's not a nice addiction, it's a nasty one, but it's addictive, and addictive is addictive, so you get addicted, and you will keep contracting the kidney area, just like I've been doing, because I'm addicted too. You know, once an addict, always an addict, basically, recovered or not, or recovering or not, rather. The doing of which jars the flow, and therefore gives you more reason to jar yourself because the flow's not working. Yikes, better do something else, get anxious, worry, do something. Now, I can only say from my own experience, and I know that, oh no, the thing that I loved about what she was saying there was that to realize that coming into even a moment of joy can alter the course, i.e. alter the course of events and how they're going. And that's what I've noticed, that you go, if I've gone into once I've gone into that, you could call it a panic mode, really, even if it's a very low grade one, the cortisol release mode. I noticed that the temptation is to get drawn even more into it, which is all going on in the front of my body. Like I've got to go into the front of my body so I'm nearer to the world that I'm perceiving around me, so I can act more quickly and do more stuff to make it all right out there. I've noticed that by dropping back, and specifically dropping back into my kidney area, and getting the kidneys to soften and relax and therefore warm up, the joy that arises immediately from that, which is the joy of relief. It's not dissimilar to the joy of having a really good pee after you've drunk 3 coffees and held it in for an hour, which is one of my little games I find myself doing because I just love that feeling. And which is also a kidney thing, by the way, because that controls the bladder, the kidneys and all of that. The joy of relieving yourself of the drama, of the fear, of the anxiety, is rather amazing. And although it might only last a few seconds, which is short relative to the amount of time you've been worrying, it just resets you and you stop worrying. You suddenly get perspective back. You might not get it all in one go, because, you know, we also want to have everything all at once. You might not get the whole picture and the whole satisfying checklist that says, yeah, you're okay, buddy, stop worrying, look, this is why, here's the proof, everything's going to be blah, blah, blah. You don't necessarily get all that in one hit. But you do get the sense that actually, you know, it could be all right. And then it goes from being it could be all right to it'll be all right. I mean, and then it goes into it doesn't matter anyway. It's beautiful being here. And then you remember that original thrusting force that's driving you in the first place. It's really beautiful being here. It's really exciting. We're alive. That's the gift. Don't worry about all the other stuff. That's just details. You're alive. Now, if you plug into the aliveness, you've got the vitality, and then you can do anything. You can make it all happen, and you're not afraid, because when you've got vitality, you can handle anything, and it's the kidneys that produce your vitality. So this is hugely important and fascinating, isn't it, that it's the one thing that you don't need to do if you want to be in the flow and everything to work for you in your life, is to jar yourself, and that's the one thing you'll do. You know, but that's what's beautiful. That is the example of yin and yang. That's the yin and yang example, par excellence. That's the one, right there. And you're not meant to stop it. You're not meant to punish yourself every time you jar yourself. You merely need to watch it, see it, be mindful of it if you like. Drop back and relax, and tell yourself and remind yourself of what your intention actually is, rather than the fear pictures that you're creating. Surely you don't want that. You don't want to pray for that. What do you want to pray for? What do you actually want? I mean, if you can't see it right now, clearly, that doesn't matter. You do know that you want life to offer you the very, very, very best it can from step to step, don't you? Can't argue with that, surely. You want life to give you the very best there is at every moment. You want it all to work out. And I would imagine that if you've got any sanity, you want it to be fun, because why would you want to be here and it not be fun? And I don't mean stupid fun, I mean real proper fun, like the deep enjoyment of being, even through pain and what have you, of just watching the movie. What a movie, hey? What a movie. And if it was all slush and if it was all comedy and all light-hearted, there would be no dynamics to it. And after 90 minutes, you'd get really bored. Well, there's a lot of 90 minutes worth to fill in a lifetime. So it can't all just be one kind of movie. And when you consider the movie you're in, it's really remarkable, isn't it? And it's that. It's having the fun with it. Now, that implies being in some kind of dialogue, so to speak, with, excuse the pun, with your big self, with the background presence in you, with the primordial presence of that you sprang forth from and on account of, by which, whatever. What made it possible for humans to give birth, what made it possible for your mother to be a shape that held together long enough, and your father to be a shape that held together long enough for them to be together and make love and you be born, for example. The miracle of it all that we all take for granted. And all the ancestors that came before to make, and goodness knows where it all came from, all of this stuff. I mean, what a quirky, ridiculous thing it is. Let us move straight to the meditation now, and I'll explain the reason, or the effect rather, that I would imagine this having on our lives as a result of stirring the water, so to speak, is that there will be far more flow in the events of our lives in terms of the intention being realized. There'll be far more flow on an internal and an interior level in terms of the flow of emotions within you. Because you know how it's easy to get stuck in an emotion loop where you just flip between anxiety and excitement or whatever you want, you know, the five main emotions that come with the five elements, that all the feelings can flow freely. It will affect the way the thoughts flow in the mind. And that's obviously crucial because you describe reality to yourself in a certain way. That description can be flowing rather than rigid. If it can encompass that life is this and it's that rather than it has to be this or that. If it can give you the facility for not jumping to conclusions all the time and having to say, right, this is it, this is what I believe, I'm going to defend this belief, but rather go, well, it's all very interesting, I don't really know what's going on here, but it's jolly interesting, and that's happening, and this is happening. You know, I'll draw conclusions when conclusions are required to be drawn, but not before. And that beautiful flowing mind, that's the, if you like, that's the scientist's mind, not jumping to conclusions before the experiment is done, and we're still here, so the experiment's not done. Let's not jump to conclusions, in other words, and that lovely ability to flow, whence springs grace. And it will also affect the flow of everything else that the other elements control. So, for example, money is the flow of which is primarily instigated through spleen energy, which is the earth element. The flow of it, though, is commanded by water, the water element. That tendency in reality to move a certain way, which is the flow. And the situations that you're in that have felt stuck, or that we're in that have felt stuck, things that felt a bit intractable, were difficult to shift, will shift. It will start to shift much more freely because the water will be flowing. It will all be flowing. Now, there's another aspect to water which is important, that the Taoists say this, that it's a single drop, and there's nothing much more humble than a single drop of water. But when enough of those drops are amassed and pushed in a certain direction with enough velocity, a tidal wave occurs, and we all know how devastating tidal waves are. But if you apply that in a positive way, if you can get the water inside of you to flow with such precision and in such a well-funneled way that you can then just up the pressure a bit, and it creates like a tidal surge of energy that goes towards that accelerates you towards your intention, then that's a wonderful thing. So this water freeing process will increase your manifesting ability in general things will flow much more easily. So start off by taking stock of where you are, how you are feeling right now. I would suggest that you sit in a comfortable chair. It's the best, with a back to support you. Lying down's okay, but you do get a more powerful, profound connection with space on the one hand and ground on the other when you're sitting perpendicular to the ground or standing. When I do these practices myself each day, I do them standing, Qigong, part of the Qigong thing. Sitting as I am now, I would suggest is the way. Close your eyes, close them lightly so that at the bottom of the eyelids there's a little space, a tiny space, to let in sunlight, because that keeps your brain kind of alert. Imagine that somebody is suspending, pulling the crown of your head upwards towards the ceiling, lightly but firmly, until you can feel the back of your neck get longer. This causes your chin to just very subtly, not hugely, grossly, drop a little bit towards your chest, which, as any martial artist will tell you, that this is a protective device to protect your throat when in combat. It's exactly it's not like what we're doing now, but the throat is protected from any external, exogenous, psychic dross flying around. So you're protected with the chin down a little bit and the back of the neck long. And this length in the back of the neck extends all the way down to your coccyx at the tip of your spine. And it makes your whole spine longer. Now picture immediately energy like electricity spiraling and snaking its way up around the vertebrae and in through the spinal cord and twiggly wiggly all the way around up the spinal column. And imagine that the skull is like the uppermost expanded vertebra, and it's whirling its way around that too and finding its way out through the crown of your head. It's like a fizzle of energy going up, just crackling its way through the pathways, just cleansing the channel. That's the main conduit of energy in the body, the spine. Drop the shoulders. Just let the shoulder girdle, the thing that holds your arms on, let that drop. So you don't have to keep your shoulders up by your ears to protect you now. You're safe. And with that, drop all the responsibility or the sense of responsibility, the burden of the life story, the description of reality. Because what happens is you describe it in the front of the brain, and you hold that description on your shoulders on an energetic level. So as you drop the shoulders, you drop all that. You drop the weight of it, and it's a relief, like, oh. And sigh a bit, like I just did, like, oh. And another one, a bit longer. Oh. And let it all go. And another one. Oh. Let all your tension dissolve, or as much of it as you could release on that. And let the tension dissolve specifically from the muscles, so that all the muscles of your face start to soften. Let the expression go. You don't need a facial expression right now. Amazing amounts of energy are used up keeping an expression on the face that we don't even need there. Let that go. Let the face become expressionless. Let the back of the neck likewise soften, the sides of the neck, all the way down the shoulders and the arms to your hands. The fingers, you use them so much, and they stay in a state of high alert, ready for use at any moment. You just give them a little rest now. Let them have a bit of time off. And the sides of the body, similarly, we tend to sort of keep the shoulders up by pushing the muscles at the sides of the body up as well. Let them go. Let your armpits relax. Let your chest relax. The chest, without realizing it, we cover over energetically with an invisible protective plate, a sort of shield, to protect ourselves from the pain of people being horrible to us, or disregarding us, not respecting us, taking advantage of us, blah, 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 and so on. Let that go, because we're safe in here. We're safe in here. and let the belly go. We keep the belly tense, the solar plexus particularly, because that's where we get the energy from to process all the information coming in, which comes in vast torrents constantly. So it naturally tenses up. Let that relax. And the lower belly, the intestinal area, which most people do hold tighter than they need to, let that relax as well. And along with that, let the lower back relax and the middle back relax. And we'll come back to that in a moment. And the buttocks and the pelvic floor, the genital area, and the backs of the sides and the tops of the legs and fronts of the legs and the backs of the calves and the feet, the toes. Let everything soften. And now come back specifically to the kidney area, which is waist level roughly, either side of the spine. And just let the kidneys relax more. Just let that area, just say to it, come on, let go. And as it lets go, it affects the diaphragm, because that's where the diaphragm sort of sits roughly at the back, and that goes all the way around to the front and enables you to breathe a bit more freely. So let that happen. Enjoy the breathing. Breathe more fully, more freely, as if you paid, let's say, $10,000, pounds, whatever, per breath. So you really, really are going to take notice, really value it. Top quality, this breath, sir, madam. Really highly recommended. And you remember what they said in the shop. So you're not just breathing, you're thinking, wow, this is really amazing stuff, keeping me alive here. And freely allowing the old breath to pass out to make room for the new breath. And this process, holding you now more and more here in this present moment, you're beginning to arrive at a deeper level inside. Now, gather your sense of what's going on right now, rather than in the front of the brain where it's usually gathered, the sense of self, where the story goes on, the description. Gather yourself instead, psychoenergetically, down where your belly button is, there and a bit below. Just let that be the center of operations. That's the engine room, if you like. It's where the thrust is coming from. That area is controlled. It's the front part of where the kidneys are. It's all the same thing. Now, here's the big move. Drop back inside. So rather than having to hold the thought up front, trust that the thought's well protected by your invisible guardians. And just drop back inside. Drop back and sit in your back. Nuzzle into your shoulder blades. Push yourself into the front of your spine and into the rear pelvic bones and sacrum and your coccyx, sort of allowing yourself to sink down into the coccyx but pushing back at the same time. And especially in the kidney area, really take that as yours. It's like take advantage of it. That area is the most important part of the back of the chair, and it's yours. Just take command of it now. Take command of the kidney area. Be in there. Be in there. And sink right back. Be in your kidneys and all the way up your back. Tilt your head back a bit, just to gesture to your mind to sink into the back of your skull. Sink into the back of the brain there, into the cerebellum. And you can see the two amygdala sacs hanging down in front of you there and just behind the midbrain. Normally a bit contracted because of the flight or fight, or fight or flight, whichever it is, thing, reflex. Now let them hang all the way down, be completely relaxed, because when the amygdala hang down, relax, all the rest of you relaxes with that. And you can see the center of the brain from where you are. You're right in the back now. You can see the center of the brain. This is the sort of the nub of consciousness. This is the nexus of consciousness, where it all comes through. All the information of space comes in through, or is processed. No, comes in through there. That's the sort of receiving dish. And notice now that you're right in the back of you. You're leaning into yourself. You've occupied your back. You've got your consciousness in the back of the brain rather than the front of the brain. And you notice that the front of the brain, where the descriptions are usually going on, is quite empty now. It's still, it's quiet. Blessed silence. Beautiful relief. And the front of the body, rather than being in its usual tense, armored state, is very, very relaxed and open. You are merging with the existence around you. somehow merging with, but to make that really happen, visualize the two parts of the breastplate sliding apart like a pair of sliding doors, revealing in the core of your chest what looks like some kind of precious jewel cluster or flower of heavenly design, exuding what surely has a very sweet, beautiful, exotic fragrance, and has the appearance of a rose gold vapor on a subtle level, which is now naturally emanating from you, moving into all parts of your own body and surrounding you, and freely radiating outwards to bathe as a blessing every other participant all the way around the world in the satsang, and by extension, bathing the souls, healing the souls of everyone they all know, we all know, everyone they all know, so on and so on and so on, until it lightly but definitely touches the soul with a healing quality of every person, every sentient being on this planet and beyond, and all the guardian angels, all the spirit guides, all the various angels, all the entities that everybody's in touch with, are receiving this healing now, this love. And the presence, the primordial presence that originally creates all of this, all of it, all the entities of whether corporeal or incorporeal, whether on this planet or in a distant galaxy, throughout time and space, this ineffable consciousness and energy that's been here before time and will be here after time, is touching that as well. This love, this beautiful rose gold vapor, is moving all the way to that as well, and it feels it. Of course it feels it. It is it. And it smiles. It smiles. And its smile is so beauteous and bountiful and huge, infinitely huge, that it settles upon us, this smile, like a balm. And that's the reward, feeling the energy of that flowing back into your heart and nourishing every part of you. It's a reward, an award. It's like receiving an award. It's a beautiful feeling. You have to open yourself now in humility and grace and receive the smile of the Tao. And the smile of the Tao is, if it could speak, it's encouraging you to let go completely now and flow. Just flow. And there will inevitably be jarring. Not to worry about the jarring, just to turn the jarring right down so that any fear thoughts that come in, any worry thoughts that come in, any external obstructions that invade your sense of well-being, they all are dealt with the greatest of ease, and all you do is flow. So see yourself now in a very lush, warm river, and the banks on either side are beautiful. There's no buildings as far as the eye can see. The terrain is the terrain you love the most. The color of the sky is the color of the sky you love the most. The temperature is the perfect temperature for you. The sounds in the air are the ones you love the most. And the feel of the water, the smell in the air, the sense of the water is balmy, it's warm. There's no shock to your system. There's a lovely, lovely feeling, and you feel completely free, completely safe. And you're standing with your feet on the quite near, it's the riverbed. It's not too deep. It feels very safe, actually. Really safe, and it's really clean as well, this river. Totally unpolluted in any way at all. Totally safe. There's no hostile creatures in it. Everything is perfect. Unusually, everything is perfect. And you're about to set sail on the current. You're about to let go and flow. And ahead of you, downstream, there is a very, very powerful glow occurring. And it's an unworldly glow. It's a golden glow that is occurring in a different dimension, but it is nonetheless real for that. And this glow symbolizes, corresponds with, represents, is the essence of all the beautiful things you intend to happen. And most of them you haven't thought of course, but the quality of life that you know is yours for the taking, for the having, to give you the sense and proof, physical proof, that you are being looked after as royally as a person could be, and that you are missing nothing, that you're getting absolute fulfillment on every level, in every aspect of your life. Your relationships with everybody, your relationships with everything are all optimized by this. And all you have to do is flow down the river to the golden light. And when you get there and allow yourself to be absorbed in the golden light, that will be the moment that everything is activated, this new stage of magic for all of us. Before doing so, just to protect ourselves, so that we retain our integrity at the deepest level, see the rear of your spine with a fiber optic like channel running up the rear of it, going over the crown of the head and down the front of the spine, behind the face, the chest, the belly and so on, behind the pubic bone, and meeting with the other one at the bottom there in the pelvic floor to create a loop. And as you breathe in, see the rear part of the channel, the one going up the back, light up, bright, bright, bright. As you breathe out, see the front part of the channel light up, bright, bright, bright. You're breathing in, the back part lights up. You breathe out, the front part lights up. You keep going, breathing in, breathing out. And you notice that the lines of light remain after you've taken your attention off them. So when you're attending to the front part, the back part stays lit. When you're attending to the back part, the front part stays lit. And all of a sudden, here you are with this incredible loop of very, very bright white light going up the rear of the spine and down the front of the spine, which is circulating as light does at 186,000 miles a second. Very, very, very powerful. This is called circulating the light, funnily enough. And this will give shape to your spirit body, the immortal spirit body. This is the practice that you do, along with many others, but this is the basis of it, that gradually, and probably instantaneously really, activates the immortal spirit body, so that when you die and drop your body, there is no confusion at the point of death. This is the big payoff of the Taoist practice, really. And right now, we're using it to protect ourselves as we move into the next phase of, should we call it manifestation, if it's not too clumsy, of all that we need to produce this wonderful effect of being given everything there is to the best possible standard at every moment. For the adventure to be the fullest, most beautiful, gorgeous adventure it can possibly be. Next phase coming up now. So just let go. The current suddenly gets very, very strong. It's like those moving walkways you step on, and still until you step on it, bang, you're off. And it's really quite exciting. You're swimming, but you don't have to use the swimming to propel yourself. The current's strong enough that it's just pushing you. You're just swimming to, you know, kind of dance in the water, really. And it's lovely. You feel like a dolphin, not just like a person at all. Not even just like a fish. You are like a dolphin. You're cavorting as you go. It's beautiful because you can feel joy and you're unwinding. You can feel yourself unwinding. And where you feel it the most in the body, funnily enough, as you make these beautiful dolphin or porpoise-like movements, it's the kidneys. What a beautiful feeling of freedom there is there. Not just freedom, but something activated, a vitality, a strength, an urge. And it's a beautiful feeling. And it's so strong that you've hardly even noticed that the bright golden light is almost upon you. And it feels beautiful. Suddenly it's all-encompassing. It's like the sun, but it doesn't burn you. It just engulfs you until all there is, suddenly you're out of the river and sitting somewhere on the bank, you think. But it's hard to know because you're being very quickly absorbed into this golden light until there is no person anymore, just golden light. And it's rarefied and it's very beautiful. You know you're in touch with something that exists throughout the universe at the subatomic level at this moment, but that we can't usually see, this golden light of abundance, of everything being as it needs to be, of life being the most beautiful it can possibly be for us and everyone we know. This is the healing light. And you're in it now. You are it now. And just to absorb and breathe and enjoy and give thanks, give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Be aware of all of us here, all the way around the planet, like a committee of angels, giving thanks at the same time. And the grace that emanates from this synergy of gratitude is naturally finding its way to planet Earth, where all those 7.2 billion people are doing all the stuff that people do. From up here, it looks completely incomprehensible. What are they all doing down there, rushing about like that? But, you know, we know from our human selves what it's like there. Every single one of them is receiving this blessing, this beautiful golden light. It's spreading all the way around the earth. Everyone can partake of it. It's healing. It's healing. It's healing. And zoom in, like Google Earth, down onto the top of your own head there, that physical head of yours sitting in that chair, and blast that golden light in through the top of that head. Make it fill up that human body of yours, every single cell of it. Bless it, the angel that you are now. Bless your human form. Put your hands on its head and say, I bless you, I bless you, I bless you. And now be in your body, be in your physical body, and feel that blessing coming in. That angel is touching your head right now, and the blessing is coming through. This golden light is flooding your brain, moving down through every single cell in your body, filling you up until you are also glowing with this golden light. And you're glowing. Because you're glowing, you're flowing. And that's the intention. This week, concentrate, flowing with this beautiful glow. And this glow is the golden touch, and it will make everything come to you by magic. This is the intention. So be it. Okay, this is question and answer time. Over to Sue to conduct the opening of that segment.
Hello.
Hello.
We've got some pre-submitted questions, so starting with this one from Mike. When we talk about thinking skills, who's doing the thinking? Is it merely the forward part of the brain?
Hello, Mike. That's a good thinking kind of question. It gives rise to many thoughts, but I think, well, the question, who's doing the thinking, is one that the Buddhists use as a koan, so that they'll ask themselves the question, who am I? Who is this? Who's thinking? Who's doing this thinking? You don't answer it. The idea is that really, ultimately, no one's doing the thinking. It's just thought thinking itself. What we are is just a collection of habits, what we know of ourselves anyway, as physical beings. It's just a collection of habits, descriptions, as I was saying. And the brain does that. The human form does that. It thinks. It does. It ascertains. It experiences. But who it really is, who we each really are, is the big presence that informs all of this, that steps itself down for its own reasons into our form so that it can experience life and can experience the joy as us. So really it's it doing the thinking, and then the bit that we're aware of doing the thinking is the constructed self that we've learned to be over the years, that we've developed over the years, which is really just a collection of habits. I could go into that in much more depth and much longer, but I think this isn't the time. But I'm sure you knew that anyway. That's why you asked that question, wasn't it?
Okay, this next one is from Megan. Regarding emotional harmony, what are some great ways to keep your emotions level during stressful times?
Hi, Megan. We just did a lot of them, you know. That ability to occupy your own kidneys in itself keeps the emotions more stable. Breathing slowly, again, really powerful tool. Most important though is the being in the back, so that you're able to observe the self going through the extremes of emotion, and yet not be the extremes of emotion. You're able to observe without being, so you don't identify with it, rather than walking around saying, oh, I'm really sad or I'm really scared. It's like, I feel fear. There is fear going on. There is sadness going on. You no longer are identified with it. That takes a lot of the steam out of it. And then you have a choice. It stops being compulsive, in other words. And you can say, what do I choose to feel here? Well, despite the fact that I'm feeling a little bit freaked out, I choose to feel jolly excited to be alive and grateful for it too. Confident that everything's going to work out, for example. And then that's what will be within a few moments or minutes or hours even, but it will be. The upper body gives a lot of support to emotional stability when it's strong. So upper body exercises, the sort of stuff I do in the Qigong routines and stuff, that I teach, well, like in the retreats and things, that system is, I can't really describe it to you. It's in School for Warriors, some of it. You strengthen the upper body using various arm motions and so, but you'll have your own versions of how to do that. If you strengthen your upper, just push-ups or whatever, that gives you emotional stability. But we don't want to be suppressing the emotions. We don't want to be doing like Stepford wives on ourselves. We want to be able to feel the feeling, just not get caught in the drama of it, because the feelings are beautiful. Feelings is what we're here for, really. But it's the drama that we associate with the feelings that we don't have to subscribe to. I think it's that, really. What else? Pressing your wrist in line with your little finger on the wrist bracelet, in that tendon that leads to the little finger. It's a point, if you look up an acupuncture atlas on the internet, called Heart 7. It's called the Spirit Door. That's his poetic name. Pressing that firmly with the thumb of the opposite hand for 10 seconds or whatever definitely resets the ability to relax and feel that everything's fine and okay. But I have to say that it's about going into your back. It's the most important technique there is, and specifically into the kidneys. Sit back into your kidneys, and your emotions will settle into a more flowing stream, which is what we want. It's not all about, I'm going to be happy forever and ever, and that's what I'm going to feel. It's about moving from one feeling to another. Everything's emotion. It's all of it is emotion. So we're not aiming for some static state. We're aiming for a beautiful flowing state, which will take us through all the sorts of feelings there are. But as long as we're sitting back inside, we're safe there. We're centered. It's like driving the car through shitty areas. It doesn't matter. You just keep going, and then you come to a beautiful area. Again, it doesn't matter. You just keep going. It's like that when you're sitting in the back of yourself. Next question.
Before we go to that, both Maureen and Teresa are letting you know that the full moon is in Virgo.
Oh, man, that's me. That's what I've been feeling, this fucker. Yeah, because I'm Virgo. Yeah. Thank you.
Teresa says, ooh, that was most delightful. Thank you, Stephen.
You are very welcome. Bless you.
She's asking a question linked to Mike's original question about thinking. And Teresa says, the question that was asked re the mind, does it too relate to the no heart?
The no heart. I used to remember something to do with the no heart. Is that a Buddhist thing? Oh, I can't remember. I don't know, really. Sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Okay. Alrighty, we'll move to Paul's question now. Paul says, Dear Doc, I have suffered a soft injury to my penis, don't ask. It's the glands mainly. I have tried everything I know and have learnt recently that it is taking a long time to totally heal. Can you help? Thanks, Paul.
Oh, what a thing to do. Paul, poor you. I think that the only thing I can think of with that would be some form of craniosacral style of healing that I would suggest you learn to do for yourself, unless you are very close friends with somebody who'd be up for doing it for you. And what this actually entails, you learn to do it first of all. The easiest place to learn is, here's a craniosacral training that normally takes 2 solid years and costs about 20 grand in 2 minutes, under 2 minutes. What you need to do is, if you put your hands on your temporal bones, the bones at the side of your head, just put the fingers there, about 1 inch above the ears, and you very lightly just feel it for a bit. You'll notice if you concentrate more on your wrist than your fingers, funnily enough, it makes you more sensitive. That there's a certain subtle expanding and contracting motion going on throughout the skull. The 66 bones of the skull are expanding and contracting rhythmically, a rhythm separate from any other rhythm in the body. It's the cerebrospinal fluid that's pumping up and down the spine. And that's how you learn to do it. Now, once you've got that, you can apply that touch to any part of your body. And even though the penis is not a bone, even then, there still will be that subtle expanding, contracting motion occurring on account of the cerebrospinal fluid just changing the body. And you've got to be very sensitive to it, but basically through your fingertips, you'll be feeling a very, very, very subtle dance exactly at the point of the injury, which if you visualize golden light coming from your fingertips into the penis and mending that area. You just keep this going for maybe 20 minutes or so. With or without an erection makes no difference. If that happens, then that's fine. It makes it probably make it easier, in fact. You just keep the fingers pressed there in that very light 4 ounces weigh, 110 grams. And you're not just pressing, you're talking to it through the fingers. You're talking to the lesion and saying to it, come, you can heal, you can heal, you can heal. And you visualize the golden light mending it, mending the connective tissue. You know, like there's a special effect, a visual special effect being run over it, and it's all like, you know, like Dr. Spock's done it, and Mr. Spock, no, Mr. Spock rather, and has done it, and it's healing itself mysteriously and miraculously. If you do a couple of sessions like that, I think you'll speed up the healing process by about 60% or so. That would be what I can't think of anything else to suggest. And, you know, of course, visualizing whatever it looks like, it not being like that. So visualizing yourself doing things you weren't able to do with it, like this, which we can all imagine what they are, etc. So I wish you better quickly.
Alrighty, we've just got one more question. And before that, Malkit says, thank you, Stephen, for a glowing, beautiful meditation. I am now glowing. Love, Malkit.
Oh, bless you. Glow like the sun, midday sun at all times, and may the glow bring the flow. Bless you. No one could merit it more.
All right, so this last question is from Jen. Could you explain a bit more about the immortal spirit body and the neon rope light around the microcosmic orbit practice?
Well, I can't really explain the immortal spirit body because these things just don't really fit in normal language. That's why the Taoists wrote them as poetry. There's a book you could get that C.G. Jung did the foreword to, you know, the psychoanalyst, which is called The Secret of the Golden Flower. I honestly can't remember the author. It's a Chinese name. I should do, but I can't remember it. And you'll get, it's really worth reading. I recommend it to everybody. It will do your head in, the riddles in it, and it is almost incomprehensible, but it's beautiful poetry. Really beautiful. And to be fair to Jung, it was a long time ago, but he didn't have a clue what it was all about, only a little bit. But that's all about it. You know, that's the one of the classics that was ever written or translated about the golden flower. They called it The Secret of the Golden Flower. In my experience, I've been practicing this stuff for 40 odd years, a bit less, this one. And you get the sense that it gives you a luminosity on the inner plane. There's a certain kind of luminosity and a protective sheath that goes around you from practicing the orbiting the light around the microcosmic orbit. And the finer the stream of light is, the more powerful the protection. So it's not, don't be gross, be as subtle as possible. The finer the light activated up the rear and down the front, the more powerful. Now this light is always moving round there. It's called the prenatal light. It's the light that was moving through you from before you were even born, and presumably from before you were even conceived. So it's the immortal side of you. The light is moving in that and always has been. And for whatever reason, the reconnecting with that, along with a lot of other practice. School for Warriors 3 is actually the training for getting to the immortal spirit, because it takes the macrocosmic orbit practice as well. But this is the bedrock of it all. There is this sense that it gives you something that goes on without any drama attached to it, no romance attached to it. I mean, my recent bouts with death over the last 3 years, a couple of them, well, one of them was more me, yeah, whatever. There was a sense of no fear, because this presence within me was always going to be there. And so what, anyway? It didn't matter. It gave a sort of a sense of calmness to everything and ordinariness to the biggest things that we find extraordinary. That's my personal experience of it. I can't really say much more about it than that. They do say that you will not be scattered at the point of death, which is very important, because the whole idea of life, according to all spiritual paths, is it is a preparation for shedding the body. What occurs after that, the Taoists do not presume to say. They leave that to the Buddhists and other characters to come up with fancy stories about what goes on after you die, which may or they may not be true. It's impossible to know. The beautiful thing is it really, really doesn't matter. And the more you practice the activation of the spirit body like this, the more it feels like it really doesn't matter. It's just very lovely. That's one of the greatest gifts you could ever have. I wish I could say something more erudite about it at this point, but that's all that occurs to me. And I wish, as I was saying before, everybody here, this is my intention and my prediction of what will occur, that there's been a jarring effect a little bit, this moon energy. It makes everyone a bit loony. It certainly has me a bit intense, rather. And a sense of like panicky feeling of maybe you're stepping the wrong way and what have you, that this will just vanish now. And there'll be this beautiful sense of release into the current. And the more that you let yourself roll with the current, and you do this by sinking back rather than leaning forwards, the more bounteous the current will become. That golden light will yield something quite remarkable. Just this week, in fact, there'll be a float of things that will be different from what's been previously, that will give cause spontaneously for giving thanks. If there's anybody you know that you think would benefit from coming to this, they will be welcome here, so we can expand it out a little bit more now if we want. So yes, just pass it on to anyone you think that could use this magic. I mean, bit by bit by bit, I'd like to have more people, because the more people there are, the more the power the magic has, in a way, up to a point anyway. Don't get silly, there's no point, but up to a point could be really good. Just a thought. And meantime, I wish you to feel immense joy on a level you've never quite allowed yourself to before. The only limit on how good this can all get is the limit we each set on how good we can take it. So let's open up the filters a bit and take it better than we've ever managed to before. Let that be the contemplation for the week, opening the filters to take more. Why not? All my love to you. Thank you for being here, and hip, hip, bye. Bye.
Let all pain, suffering be dispelled. Let all pain, suffering